and welcome to the True You Ministries podcast. I'm Stacy Echeverria, your host, and with me back for part 2 in Walking, Jeff Trinci. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you for having me, Stacy. It's great to be back.
Yeah, we had a really great first episode. And for those of you that have missed it, I will include the show link for that. The episode for part 1, Walking, will be in the show notes in part 2. So we are going to move from the foundational stuff that we talked about in part 1 to now the practical daily lifestyle steps toward wholeness in Christ. So in changing our habits and renewing our minds, how do the stages of habit change, like taking small, consistent steps, mirror the process of spiritual transformation and renewing the mind?
Yeah, I think you said it. It's small and consistent steps. Those are so important. When we're looking at our physical health and we're looking at our spiritual health, there are things that we all probably know we need to work on. And it's not going to be this overnight snap of the fingers, hey, I'm where I need to be. It's really taking a look at, okay, what's the first step that I can take? What's something small that I can do right now? Is it making sure that I get a verse sent to my phone every day? Or is it making sure that I take time to have a consistent routine for my prayer life? And when is that going to be? Okay, I'll do it in the morning and I'll do it my first 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever that looks like. Just starting small, but being consistent with that. And that's the key, is having those two together and not independent of each other. A lot of times we can do small things for our physical health or our spiritual health, and we try to fit them in different places, and then they end up getting lost, or we end up filling it with other things because it's not something that we consistently do over and over again to build that habit. And with either of them, it's really making sure that each step is small and doable, something that can be repeated and is something you can measure and that you can do each and every day consistently. And I think that is what's important for both of those areas to really be successful in that.
Yeah, I agree with you. The consistency is going to be really key. What I tell my clients is it's progress over perfection.
Absolutely. Yeah. And celebrating the small wins. I did this for 3 days in a row. I did it for 4. Okay, now it's really starting to go. Yeah. Seeing even the small changes and how that's making an impact in your life and really recognizing that. And when we fail, because we often do in a lot of ways, that we just use that as, okay, I don't want to feel that way again. I do things differently, or I'm going, oh, I missed it this time, or I missed it again. Okay, I need to reevaluate this because it's not as consistent as I want it to be. I still think the habit goal, the size of it is good, but maybe I need to tweak when I do it so that I can be more consistent with it. And just looking at that as motivation and an opportunity to get better.
Absolutely. That's true. It's always an opportunity to look at, hey, what is working for me? What's not working for me? Where do I need to adjust? And so with my clients, when I ask them, do you have a daily devotional plan? Do you read the Bible? Just tell me about that, because so much of the work that I do, it is faith-based, and the healing happens with Jesus at the center of it. Absolutely. And so if there isn't a daily communion with him, then let's talk about that. Let's get some consistency going. And I tell people, I'm like, look, if you've not done anything at all, setting a goal for 3 hours a day is not realistic. It just isn't realistic. Maybe even an hour a day isn't realistic. So do you have 5 minutes? Yeah, I got 5 minutes, they'll say. Okay. I said, and I'm not asking every day. What about maybe 2 to 3 times a week, 5 minutes where you're reading a verse and then you're pondering it throughout the rest of the day? Is that something that's realistic for you? And they'll say, yeah, we've got really great tools in the Bible app where it sends you the verse of the day. So it's not like they have to look for anything.
Right.
I think that's such a handy tool for people, right? Because they're all on, right? They're always on their phones. Okay, great. May as well use your phone for something good. And I'll say over time, being consistent with this, say in a month, it takes a month, 30 days to develop a new habit. But it's cumulative. So if it's twice a week, 10 minutes, in a month, you will have read the word, pondered it for 40 minutes a month. All right. Then as you do that and keep that consistency, you'll find that the Lord will continue to grow your appetite for him.
Mhm.
and you'll want to spend more time with him. And so
Absolutely.
then you'll add another day out of the week, and maybe you'll do 10 minutes the next month, 3 times a week. So there's 30 minutes a week at this point. So taking those small, consistent steps, whether it's in our health and wellness, our physical health, our foot health, or even our spiritual walk with the Lord, that is what is going to be the most important thing in keeping us in communion with the Lord and developing that relationship with Him. So, really, yes, here's the overarching goal here, but what are the steps that I need to take in order to achieve that? Because we're not going to go from A to Z, it's going to be A to B to C to D. Right. And so people
Mhm.
want that fast track, whereas with certain things, you're going to have to be on a slower track. Where I think of the scripture where Paul says to run your race. And when I think about the race that we run as Christians, it's not a sprint, it is a marathon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said too, it's a relationship. And with any
Right.
relationship, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's the day in and day out devotion and
Right.
connection. And the more time you spend with someone, with the Lord, focused on someone, focused on the Lord, focused on your health, the better it's going to be.
Right.
And one thing
Right.
too that I like to encourage is with the habits and building those habits is to do, there's some different ways of doing it, but habit stacking is something that
Mm,
is common. And
okay.
basically that just means if there's a habit that you do already, like brushing your teeth, then
Hmm.
stack that. So add a habit that you want to add right after brushing your teeth. Maybe it's doing a couple of squats or
Oh,
just something you can do that will
mhm.
just get you in the mindset of doing those things and adding a
Right.
habit on. After you have your first cup of coffee, maybe you do something else for your health that you want to include. And so stacking habits that
Hmm.
way is helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's really great. It's so funny. I'll just share this when he said, okay, say it's brushing your teeth and you want to stack a habit. But my next thought was flossing.
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
I didn't think about squats. I'm like, if you haven't done any flossing, let's just add that as a stackable habit or something. I just thought that was
Yeah.
really funny. But anything, I like that. I like that stack. If you're already doing this, what else can you incorporate? And it doesn't have to take a great length of time to do it.
No, not at all. And I know certain people that they want to add something to their life, but they just don't know where to put it. And again, starting with micro habits and just
Yeah,
adding them to what you already do, because then it's a trigger. It's that like a prompt.
right,
Oh yeah, I want to do this. And I'm
right.
doing it right after I do something that I always do. And pretty soon it becomes habitual.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And this is not one of the questions that I had planned to ask you, but it's I feel like I want to ask this, and that is, in your experience in working with the different clients that you've worked with over the years, say in general, is an obstacle for people to actually get started? What are some of
um,
the maybe the belief systems that they've got that prevent them from getting started?
yeah, I would say the desire, honestly, because people want to do it, but they don't really know what it's going to take to really get it done. And I think that their desire level, I guess maybe is a better way to put it, is not necessarily where it really needs to be for them to really be successful.
Okay.
They have this idea of, oh, yeah, I'll just do this and we'll give it a try and we'll see how it goes. And when you start with try, you almost always end up with fail. And it's really that, is your desire strong enough than a foreseeable temptation down the road?
Oh, wow. Wow.
And if it's not, you may want to rethink moving forward. And a lot of
Mhm.
times people really start to go, yeah, but then I might not be able to do this anymore, or
Right,
that might take away my fun, or it might limit
right,
this. And then they never really get going because the desire to change is not stronger than the
right.
bad habit that they're holding on to.
Yeah, and it reminds me in the realm that I am in where we talk about they haven't hit rock bottom yet to make the change. It hasn't become painful enough yet for the change to happen. And I think it's really funny when you were saying, "Oh yeah, I might not be able to do that again and it may not be fun." I think people also have that same approach to following God. and saying yes to Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I won't be able to do that anymore.
He's going to be able to stick in the mud in my life. Like, I don't want that.
I won't be able to hang out at the bar with my friends after work. And I'm like, okay, let's see how the Lord's going to change your heart, because he will. And I have
Yes.
found that over the years for me as well. There's a certain TV show that I really liked watching. I love anything with cops, lawyers, forensics, figuring out why people do what they do. I already know why they do that, but I love watching marathons of a particular show.
Sure.
And then it just started getting to be a bit much for me.
Yeah, you have to set those boundaries.
And I just thought, I don't know. It just doesn't have the appeal that it once had. I don't find it interesting anymore. And I stopped watching it. I'd watched it for a really long time. The show is still on the air, by the way. And I was telling my husband about it. And this is what he said to me. He said, I've been praying for you that the Lord would take that desire away.
Yeah, and that's the desire is super key, because that's what leads us into temptation. That's what the word says, is our own desires, our evil desires.
Right. Yeah.
That's why people don't realize, though, that their desires will change as you get closer to the Lord, as you lean into him, he'll draw near to you. And it's the same thing with your body and your health, is that people don't realize that, oh, I want to have my sugar, or I like this. I'm like, actually, you're going to lower the bar for what's going to be satisfying for you by going through this. And so you're going to still have that same, wow, I feel really satisfied, but it's just not going to take nearly what it took before to get you there, which then also puts you over the top for your health concerns. And so people will, they're not be fearful of losing that desires, that your desires will change, and then you'll still be, you'll be happy and healthy.
Absolutely. And the show that I liked wasn't a bad show. It was just like, why am I even watching this anymore? It was Law and Order. It was the SVU, the Special Victims Unit. And I really liked, some of the characters on that, but it just started to go a little sideways. And I was just like, I really don't want to watch this. It's not really adding anything to me. And there's some really wonderful actors on there. And I was just like, yeah, it's a downer. It's a downer of a show, right? With the subject matter. And I'm going, I want to fill my life with those things that are noble and pure and lovely and all of that. But I also, with regard to the desire, I think about the scripture where it says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Absolutely. And I think people, when I hear people misquote that scripture where they say, the Lord will give you the desires of your heart, I'm like, no.
You missed something on the front end of that. Yeah.
He will not give you the desires of your heart, because the heart is deceitful above all things. And so whatever is in there, I'm like, no, the Lord's not going to give you the desires of your heart. He's going to give you the desires of his heart.
Absolutely.
Right? That our heart desires need to align with his.
Yeah.
And we do that first by delighting in him.
Yes. And desiring to delight in him too. It doesn't always come naturally, but when we just take those steps to just go, okay, I'm just going to read the Bible today, or a little bit more today, or I'm going to just lean in a little bit more, the Lord will meet us there, and he'll encourage us and give us the strength to continue in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm in the book of Jeremiah right now, and I feel for that prophet, and Isaiah before that. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to be a prophet today. Anyway, and even in those days, right? Because man, they were always at the threat of death, of being killed, because the people didn't like what the Lord was telling them to tell them. And he's trying to save you all, okay? So turn away from your wicked ways. Read this book, which is thousands of years old, and there's nothing in it that I cannot relate to in today's time, because people have not really changed that much.
No, it just looks a little different.
And I'm like, this message back then is as relevant as it was back then. It's relevant for today.
Absolutely.
And the warning is, turn away. Your hearts are divided. Turn away, because he's warning the people that destruction's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a warning for today.
Yeah. And I think it's looking at God as he's looking out for us. He created us. He created the manual for our life and living a happy, healthy life. And when we deviate from that deviation, it can continue in the wrong direction for a long time if we don't really want to correct that. And it's not that, I need to get in line and get in order, but we're actually going to be happier and healthier.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's hard to make that switch, but once we do, and you really start down that way, it's amazing how much freedom and peace and joy you can experience by just
Right.
living by what God says this is the best way to live. I'm just trying to help you,
Yeah.
just looking out for
Yeah.
you. I'm not going to force you
Absolutely.
to do it. I'm not going to make you feel like you have to, otherwise you're going to be held to fire. But it's understanding that we want to be with the Lord forever. That's why we want to be in heaven.
Right.
It is
Absolutely.
not going to hell. It's avoiding that in a sense, but it should be more about spending time with God is love, spending time with love, because love is going to be absent. God is
Right.
in heaven, then that's where I want
Yeah.
to be, because that's where love is going to be.
Yeah.
That's where joy and peace and all those things are.
Yeah.
And to have that relationship forever. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
something that we want to have. And
Right.
yeah, growing in that is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think about it from the beginning, there was a redemptive salvation story, a redemptive salvation opportunity. And that still is relevant to us today. And when I hear people say God sends people to hell, and I'm like, his heart is for all of us to not perish, but to spend eternity with him. It's the choices that we make that where we end up going to hell because we've rejected God. That's really something to consider. But I do love that God does love us. It's all encapsulated in John 3:16, where, God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever would believe in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. It's what he wants for us, right? And that life is going to look very different. And so every day we get to choose, are we going to choose the life that the Lord has for us and wants for us, or are we going to choose the things of the world? And the world really only brings death, whereas the Lord brings life to us. And it's really that simple in everything that we do every day, the many decisions that we have to make with regard to our health. And those of us, especially that are walking with the Lord, that are in the kingdom, what are the things that I need to do every single day so that I can continue walking out the plan and the purpose that he's called me to? And those things are either going to bring us life or they're not. And it really is that simple. And I love that we're talking about, especially that foot health. And again, going into the ends of the earth, however, whatever that looks like, we need to be able to do what the Lord has called us to do. So moving into the next part of this, right? So and I think about our feet, right? I think about our knees too. Our knees bear a lot of weight, but eventually our feet bear our physical weight, and sometimes emotional or spiritual burdens as well. So how can we release what weighs us down to walk freely in God's grace? But also too, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about what are some of the things that we can do practically to support our feet in order to bear some of that weight as well.
Absolutely. I think for both, posture is
Hmm.
just super, super important. Our posture toward God. Are we humble? Are we
Hmm.
holding on to things in our life too tightly that we want to control them? We don't want to let
Yeah.
them go. We don't
Yeah.
want anything to happen to them. I think we really need to walk in a place where we know God's attributes. We know the character of God, and we know that he's good and that he's there for us and he loves us and he wants the best for us. And
Right.
just walking in that place, okay, I release it to you, Lord, and having that posture of humility is the best place to start.
Right.
With our feet, people, I feel from my experience, have been led to believe that the shoes that exist currently are the best for our feet.
Right.
And it's hard. And you mentioned this earlier in our first
Hmm.
session, that there's this idea of the shape of it. It looks funky or it looks weird or I don't really like it. And it's
Yeah.
funny because now that I've been in it for a number of years, when I look at what most people would consider a normal looking shoe that kind of has that pointed top to
Yeah.
it, it looks uncomfortable. It
Yeah.
looks restrictive.
Yeah.
And I don't like the way that looks. And I like the way that the
Yeah.
natural foot shape shoes look. And so with anything, like our desires that we talked about and just how we see things, they change as we move toward things that are going to be healthy for us. And having the right footwear. And that really starts with having a shoe that has a natural foot shaped toe box. And so by that, the ball of our foot, so right at the base of our toes, if the shoe starts to move into a point, then that shoe is going to be restrictive to our toes. So when we actually walk, our toes, what's called splay, or they spread out. And
Right.
so if our shoe is restricting that motion of our toes and that positioning of our toes, it's going to affect the support for our arch. It's going to affect the veins and the nerves below our foot because it's going to
Mm.
restrict how the foot can move.
Okay.
And there's just a lot going on that we don't realize by not being able to have that naturally functioning foot motion. And so the
Mhm.
first place to start is getting a shoe that has that wide toe box. And so from there, there's different things to look at, like levels of cushioning, how the shoe is what's called zero drop. So if it's from heel to toe, you want it to not have any elevation change, because that's going to change the positioning of how you walk and your posture and your back, and it's going to affect so many different things. And there's a handful of others, but those things are just so important. And it really comes down to, in a lot of cases, the footwear that you choose. And like you said, it's not something that necessarily happens immediately. For some people, their feet can be really affected within a matter of a few weeks to a few months. And then there's others that their foot is not as pliable, to put it in that way. So they're able to resist that force from the shoe. But over time, our foot will succumb to that. And so it's something that is unfortunate, but yeah, really look out for people that especially use their feet a lot, that are on their feet a lot, that maybe have a bigger foot than normal, because a lot of times people say, oh, I'll just get a wider shoe. Yeah, but it's getting wider at the ball of the shoe. And it's not getting wider at the ends of the toes where we really want it to be.
Got it.
With anything, even with food, or like looking at labels, you could be misled in so many different ways by what people try and say is the right thing, or what's healthy, or what the right approach is going to be. So it's just important to really get things down to the basics, down to what is it that is in this particular food, or the ingredients, or what is it about these shoes that is going to be healthy or not healthy for my feet, and not get caught up in what it looks like, or either certain things that are important, but yet they can get in the way of long-term health. And I think that's how
Yeah. Lots to think about. I need to start wearing my barefoot shoes again. I have them sitting right next to me.
And it's a process, like you mentioned, like it's
really
we're not used to having that much less support in our shoes. So we really strongly encourage a slower transition process to build the foot strength as you lower the support of footwear. And so that's what I really work with people on, is helping them to be able to do that in a healthy way.
And so I take a Pilates class once a week. And one year, my Pilates instructor gave everyone in class toe spacers. And so of course, I wasn't gradual about it. I put them on, because she's all about the foot health too.
Yeah, good.
And she knows so much about the body as well, and how the arms work, and doing a push-up the correct way. And I'm going, all the years that I have been in gyms and had trainers, not one of them showed me how to do a proper push-up without it hurting me. So I learned how to do that. But my point is, so she gave everyone the toe spacers. And so I put them on, I put my shoes on, and I went for my 2-mile walk. By the time I got home, I was in so much pain. And I had told her about it. She's like, Stacy,
too much too quick. Yeah.
I'm an overachiever. What can I say?
It happens to all of us.
Right. I'm like, they're toe spacers. I mean, really, what is it going to do? It's not going to hurt. Oh boy, did I learn the hard way. And that reminds me, I need to start putting those on again as well. As we talk about this, I'm just realizing, my goodness, right? There are things that I already have that I need to use consistently, so that I make sure that my feet work for me for as long as I'm on earth. So I think this stuff that you're sharing with us is really important. So moving on with regard to healthy rhythms, right? How can biblical rhythms of rest, which none of us get enough of, movement and nourishment, guide our approach to fitness, nutrition, and self-care?
Yeah, I really feel like it's important that no matter what you're doing with your health, that you always build in the appropriate amount of rest. I think a lot of times, this especially like in exercise and fitness, people feel like the harder I go, the more calories I'm going to burn, the better I'm going to be. And there's a lot of truth to that, but not in a sense of a lot of people and what their health goals are. And I mean that in terms of weight loss and like those kinds of things, that the body makes up for some of the things that we do in those, we're pushing really hard. And so when we don't allow our body to rest and really recoup from the exercise that we do, if we go really hard with our exercise, or if it's more gradual, then our body can break down. It can lead to an overly stressed environment inside of our body. So if we are not really taking that time to build in consistent rest and just continue to go, our body will do that for us. that's just such an important part of the rhythm to really be able to maintain it long term as we age, especially not only have the right exercises, the right regiments, the right amount of time, but to really make sure that we're building in that whole body rest for long enough and often enough.
Yeah. And I like that you shared that, because when I think about the first 6 days of creation and the Lord had the seventh day be a day of rest, he built it into creation at the very beginning because he knew we were going to need that. And I
For
think
our
there's just
benefit, for sure. Yeah.
absolutely, there's
Yeah.
just so much wisdom in that. I remember when I worked in the entertainment industry and I was working on films, and those are long production days. And we were just going for sometimes 16, 18, 20-hour days. And then we would repeat it over a period of time. Now, I was younger and I could do that. But now, decades later, I'm like, I don't even want to do that. And I can't do that because it isn't healthy. And you end up eventually burning out. And then what? So, agree with having consistency in those times of rest. They're really important. And it is an opportunity for us also to even spend more time in connection with God, but also with members of our family as well. And I know that, the Shabbat, right? Because I'm half Jewish. And so I'm learning about Shabbat and that weekly ritual, if you will, of rest and family connection, but also connection with God as well. And one day out of the week to not do any work it's really not a lot of time, but it is so rewarding when we do it. And we're able to do more because we are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Intentional about having that rest. We think that I don't have time to rest because I need to get this done. And what we're not thinking about is, but when you burn out, you're not going to be able to do anything.
That's so true. Yeah, we try and think, oh, I need to maximize my time, or I need to keep going. And
Right.
and a lot of times we end up working longer. The quality's not as good. And had we just taken a break, we would have gotten it done quicker.
Yeah.
And it would be better a lot of the times. We end up in a better place and we got the rest. So we end up getting a win. And a lot of times we just got to remind ourselves that is, what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a post recently on a business platform that I'm on, and the tagline was, white space on the calendar is the devil. And I was just like,
The devil right there.
exactly. Exactly. And I was just like, I'm in front of people every day for the work that I do. And I love the work that I do. But it can be emotionally draining at times. And I have really great self care in place. And so I have things that I've built into my daily habits, if you will, that allow me to rest and recharge so I can meet the next client. Or I don't work on Fridays. So Friday, 1 month out of the 1 day out of the month is when I record my podcast. And so I'm very intentional about the conversations I'm going to have with people, how many meetings I'm going to have outside of meeting with my clients. And I had said, you know what? The white space is the opportunity for me to rest and recharge so that I can be fully present with the people that I'm intentional about being in front of.
Absolutely.
Right. And then he came back with something else. And I said, let's agree to disagree. I know what works for me. Because I used to be that person where I had to go and I had to do, and I'm just not in that space anymore. And that was before I came to know the Lord. And the Lord has really been showing me about being intentional, about prioritizing what's important, not just about to me, but really what's important to him. And so sometimes when I look at my calendar and it feels or it seems as if, oh my gosh, there's too many things on here. And there really isn't. But I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed by it. Like, I just don't know that I have the bandwidth for all these, although they are good. These meetings and meeting people, and I love meeting people. I'm just going, Lord, I just don't know that I have the bandwidth because I deal with chronic insomnia, right? And my time and my energy, it was taxed. And the Lord, he just has a way of moving things off the calendar. And I'm going, thank you, Lord. He
Yeah.
knew I needed the rest
Yeah.
because I want to be present with people. I don't want to feel like I'm drained. I want to be engaged. And for each person, that is going to look differently. No one gets to tell you what you are needing. You need to I always tell my clients, they'll ask me, hey, what about and I said, have you taken it to the Lord in prayer? Because he's the one that's got the answer for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he knows what we're needing. And so we do need to go to him.
And he
All right.
designed our
So
body. Oh, sorry. I mean,
no,
no, I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, and then he designed our body for balance.
Right.
And in order to have balance, we have to have the rest. But if we don't do
I
that,
agree.
then our body's going to do that for us.
Oh,
And God is purposeful in that. He has us get certain things that we maybe wouldn't have gotten had we done preventative care or had we taken
right.
the rest that we needed as we
Right.
were going. And now we're where we are. And so it's just so important to remember that yes, God wants us to be productive. He wants us to go out. He wants us to tell the world about him, but he wants us to do that in a very balanced way.
Yeah.
And you can see that just in nature and just how the
Right.
body works. There's just so many things that just all come back to
Yeah.
balance. Balance. Like you said, it can be different for everybody, but the goal should be the same. Is everybody should do whatever balance looks like for them. And if you're out of balance, if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed,
Mm.
stress is going to impact your health. It's going to
Yeah.
impact not just your mental health, but your physical health as well. And it's going to stand in the
Mhm.
way and be an obstacle more than we
Yeah.
think of some of our health and wellness goals.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. So as we begin to close out and wrap up, I think about support, right? So
Yep.
especially with my clients as they're going through their own emotional healing process, there comes a point where I ask them to consider, who do you want to invite to be part of your support accountability? Because healing happens in community, but relapse happens in isolation. And so, as we think about our physical health, our foot health, even our spiritual and our emotional health, right? What role does community, whether it's church, a small group, or friends, play in helping us sustain healthy lifestyle changes and spiritual growth?
Absolutely, that's crucial. That's what God designed. He designed us to be in
Yeah.
community. He didn't design
Yeah.
us to be isolated and by ourselves. They call it solitary confinement for a reason. It's a torturous thing. And so if
It
we
really
try
is.
to take on big changes in our life, regardless of what changes those are, if we do them by ourselves and not have the support system of the people around us, it's going to be
Mhm.
very difficult to maintain and
Right.
sustain them. Into the community, and the right community is important. If you have
I agree.
influences that are encouraging you to go down the wrong directions, or unfortunately bringing food into the house that's not going to be helpful if you want to really change that part of your life,
Right.
then it's going to be difficult. You may fall into
Yeah.
temptation, and that could lead to another and another. And having
Right.
the right support system in your life is just going to make a world of difference in
Mhm.
being able to make those changes, to really take that first step, but also to continue in them for the long haul. And it's a
Yeah.
two-way street. Everybody has things that they struggle with that maybe other people don't, and vice versa. And so we can all
Mm.
sharpen each other, speak into each other's lives, and really be there in ways that we maybe have been successful. The Lord has really helped us, or maybe an area that we've never really struggled with, but we have some things that we have learned over the years, and some things that God has taught us through others that we can then share with other people. And it's just being open to people speaking into your lives, but allowing
Yeah.
the right people to do that is, I think, the most important thing.
I agree. Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because over the years, especially for me, when I started menopause and all that came with that, and still struggling with it, and looking at different health plans and what's going to help me feel better, what's going to take the weight off. And I eat healthy. I eat healthy. I exercise. I work out. And all of that. And my husband has been so supportive through it all. He says, whatever you make, I'll eat it. I go, okay. That made my life a lot easier.
That's amazing
So
support, right? Yes,
yeah,
great.
it really is. And I don't always hear that with some of the women that I do counsel where they are struggling with hormonal issues or whatever it happens to be,
It's
the
real.
weight gain,
Yeah.
or right, they've had children and they can't lose the baby weight and all of that. And they're like, yeah, my husband, he just doesn't want to eat what I'm eating. So I have to make two different meals. And I'm going, what are you, a short order cook? What in the world? And I'm like, I'm so sorry that's happening. But then I also do encourage them, who outside of your family can you find that support that you're needing? Because she's really needing help. And it's really hard to go alone on that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
When you don't have a spouse that's supportive in that way. So I like that you mentioned that it has to be the right people that are going to be part of your support community. So my last question to you, as we're talking about all of these things, and really these steps lead us to freedom. But there are those that may be feeling stuck or they're feeling weary. So, what is one small step, physically or spiritually, that they can take today to begin walking in health and freedom through Christ?
It's a great question. I would say, playing off of what we talked about earlier with rest, is to really make sure that you are taking the time to have a calm and relaxing lunch. I feel
Oh,
like a lot of times people rush through it, multitask, and miss the opportunity for some really crucial rest. Depending on your job, it may look different. Some people get multiple breaks. Some people have a hard time even taking their lunch break. But however long that is, even if it's 7 minutes,
right.
make sure that those 7 minutes are relaxed. When you're actually eating, when you're actually consuming food,
Mm-hmm.
just make sure that they're done in a way where you're not thinking about, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, or any kind of rush in any way, but really enjoy whatever time you can allow to have your lunch. So that'd probably be if I had to pick something,
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
would encourage today.
I like that. And I think about incorporating chewing, actually chewing.
Yeah, mindful eating is, yes, a big thing.
Yeah, doing it right, not scarfing it down and gobbling it down. And because that will create other issues, I think, in the digestive
Mhm.
system as well. It will
Absolutely.
create
Yeah,
some
there's
issues
more
there.
going on than people really realize. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Wow. Just one small thing like that, how can it change your life? Just incorporating that one thing. And as you said, it might be 7 minutes, but those 7 minutes will be crucial every single day for some of those changes to happen.
absolutely.
Yeah. That's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah,
Wow. That's
that's the
awesome.
Lord. That is the,
I
yeah.
really, it wasn't what I thought it was. I was like, whoa, I haven't even thought about that. That's really good. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
So we've come to the end of part two. And as we wrap up, our walk of faith is both spiritual and physical. When we care for our feet and our bodies, we honor the God who made them and position ourselves to walk freely in his purpose. Jeff, it's been such a pleasure having you on. I can tell that you just love the Lord, that you incorporate him into the work that he's called you to do. And so I really appreciate you being on my podcast and sharing a wealth of wisdom to our audience. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, Stacy. It's been a pleasure, and you are just a wonderful inspiration. So I thank you for having me and for this talk. I enjoyed the conversation a lot.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And for those of you that want to reach out to Jeff, I've got your website up here, but I know that you do offer is it a 30-minute consultation?
Yeah, 30-minute consultation. So you just head to our website, decisionhealthy.com, and there'll be a couple different spots. You'll see them right there on the homepage and other pages where you can just fill out simple information and send it to us, and then we can start that discussion. And that 30 minutes is free just to get to know us. We get to know you and what you're looking to accomplish, and see if we can be a good fit and help you on your journey in spiritual and physical health. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I had an opportunity to get onto your website and I saw that you had a plan for couples. And I thought, wow, that is brilliant. So
Get
getting
healthy
healthy,
together is what
I love
we're
that. Getting
doing.
healthy together, right? And right there will be that support that each of you will
Absolutely.
need. And I also think about legacy too. So if some of these couples that are coming to you, maybe they've got kids. And I think about it even in my own practice, like, all right, you're getting emotionally healthy. You're learning how to handle reactions and responding healthier rather than having a reaction, or moving away from an unhealthy way of coping to a healthier way of coping. And I tell them, I go, look, this is about legacy. So what is it that you want to leave your kids? How do you want them to experience life differently than the way that you did? And so when couples get healthy together, whether it's emotionally or physically, you're leaving a legacy for generations to come.
Yes. And even at the cellular level.
Absolutely. I like that. I really like that. Even at the cellular another level. I love it. That's awesome. So anyway, for those of you that have been watching and listening, thank you so much. And I know that we spoke so much about the Lord in everything that we do because he is in everything. And so if you have a question about salvation, or you're not sure where you're going to be spending eternity, or you're not even sure that there are two places that people spend eternity in, please reach out. I love talking to people about the Lord. I share bits and pieces sometimes with clients as it's pertinent or relevant in my own story and how I came to know the Lord. I know that my life has never been the same. And so reach out to me if you have questions. You can schedule a 20-minute consultation with me. It's free at trueyouministries.com, or you can email me at info@trueyouministries.com. Do not waste time, because time is short on earth. And the Lord came so that none of us would perish. But some of us are making decisions that will not allow us entry into heaven. And I wouldn't want that to be any of you that are watching and listening. Yes, Jeff and I did talk about desires and having to give up certain things when we make the decision to get healthy physically. When we make the decision to say yes to Jesus, he's going to want us to step away from the things that we've desired that have not been good for us. But I promise you this, that whatever it is that he has for us is way better than what the world offers today.
Absolutely.
So call me. My number's on my website at trueyouministries.com. Let's have a conversation. And again, Jeff, thank you again for being on the show.